Before diving deep into the episode, I just want to say a massive thank you to you guys. So, we're all about building a space about wellness and personal growth. So we really want to bring the best conversation on Wellsome podcast. And in order to do that, I really ask you to support our journey, hit the thumbs up, just share the episode if you really think that it can resonate with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to keep up with us. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wellsome, a podcast where wellness meets self-development. I am Viky, and in each episode, I'm gonna dive deep into real conversations about health and personal growth. So, in today's episode, I have the pleasure to have with me Julie Mallon. Hi, Julie. How are
Hi
you?
there. I'm very well, thank you, Vicky.
Good, good. So let me introduce you to Julie. Julie is a sleep specialist with a medical background. And Julie, you cannot imagine how I want this episode to, go live because, first of all, I follow you on social media because I'm struggling with sleep all the time, even though I'm a health coach myself and I'm trying to do my best to sleep early, to follow a sleep regime. But I really wanted to have you on board because actually, like, a lot of people are struggling with sleep management nowadays. And I think this episode can give our followers a lot of value and a lot of education and knowledge. So welcome to Wellsome.
Thank you.
So, Julie, let's start from the very beginning. I always ask our guests how they start their journey. How did you become a sleep specialist and why sleep in specific?
So, my speciality is children in terms
Okay.
of sleep. And I worked as a health visitor back in the UK. Now, the four main components of a health visitor are child psychology, child development, sleep, and nutrition. And so, I really went on a journey where we mustn't think of sleep in isolation. All these components are really important.
Yeah.
Now, I moved from England to the Middle East. I'm Irish, by the way, but I moved to the Middle East, and all the parents were asking me about sleep. Now, for me, evidence and research is really important. Opinion, there isn't a place for opinion,
Yeah.
as a health practitioner. It has to be evidence based. Experience, yes, is very important, but not opinion. So I knew I didn't have enough knowledge around sleep to be able to help my parents. So I then was very curious. And the more I learn about sleep, the more I get so excited about it. And it's a very new science.
It is.
It's a very new science. And so I qualified with several different sleep qualifications. One of them was from Oxford with Professor Colin Epsby in cognitive behavioral therapy for sleep.
So interesting.
So, but I just find it really fascinating and the impact it has on all of us. I will often say that there is only one thing that is more important than sleep, and that's breathing.
Yeah.
Nothing else is more important. And, you might eat all this incredible food, but if you have not slept, then your body doesn't absorb the nutrients from this really wonderful food. If you do some really good exercise, again, your body isn't going to be able to repair and recover if you're not sleeping well. So it really is the foundations to all of our activities of daily living.
Yeah. So I do believe that, especially nowadays, Julie, we are living in a sleep crisis, health crisis, I would say, but specifically sleep crisis. And I see a lot of people struggling because nowadays we have more inputs, we have more like a lot of stimulation. So, of course, it's affecting our sleep. So, why do you think, especially nowadays, this sleep management has become something we really need to work on?
So there's lots of things. I think one of the most important things at the minute is that we are constantly being told about if we don't get enough sleep, we're going to die. I mean, that is ultimately
Yeah.
what we keep being
Yeah.
told. So it creates all this anxiety around sleep. And if you think about it, if you said to somebody, so how do you sleep? It's like, well, I just sleep. It's
Yeah.
the people who don't work at it are getting the best sleep. But when we try and put all of these roadblocks in place, such as we need to look at the micronutrients, we need to look at the room being dark enough, and all of these different things, when we create anxiety around sleep,
Yeah.
it doesn't put our brain in the best place for sleeping. So that's one of the elements. The other thing is that as a society, we are dark deprived. We have so much light
Yeah.
that we are not getting enough darkness to, release that sleep hormone, the melatonin.
Yeah.
There was a study there fairly recently that was saying we are spending 96% of our day indoors, whether that's in the car, whether that's in the building. So our brain, that circadian rhythm, is not getting the accurate information to
Yeah.
reset our day and night.
Yeah. So basically, it's as if our brain it's getting triggered also
Yes.
from the lights, from the computers, from the laptops, the
Yeah.
phone. It's a constant stimulation, I guess.
Well, it's also, so most of the lighting that we are now exposed to now, thankfully, we don't have that here. We can buy ordinary bulbs,
Yeah.
light bulbs. But some countries are only allowing LED lighting. Now, there's a group of neuroscientists, and that's all they work on, the circadian rhythm. And they have put their names to paper, so their reputation, and they are demanding, because of the research, that we need to put health warnings on every light bulb, LED light bulb that is being sold, because what they're seeing is with the LED, there is an increased risk of cancer, there is an increased risk of diabetes, cardiac disease, mental health issues, all because of the blue light exposure
Wow.
that is completely disrupting our biological clock.
Yeah.
So there's two mechanisms that we need for sleep. The first mechanism that we need for sleep is called our circadian rhythm. And the second is all about sleep pressure. Now, the circadian rhythm is about the brain receiving information in terms of light and timing.
Yeah.
So if we are looking at the blue light, for example, off a screen, off a phone, or lighting, that blue light is tricking our brain into thinking it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it suppresses the melatonin.
Yeah.
So that's why our biological clock is being totally disrupted.
Wow. And you were talking about red lights and lights in general. So, do you think red lights are very useful for sleep?
So there's lots of really, really beneficial studies now which are showing us about the importance of red lights, the
Yeah.
importance of red light in, helping to rebuild the mitochondria, for example. So red light is really important, but again, it's the timing.
Yeah.
The timing is really important when we expose our brain. It's got a very fancy name, and the part of the brain that has these light sensors, it's called the suprachiasmatic nuclei.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, so this is the master clock that sits behind our eyes. And then that informs all the other biological clocks in our body, what time it is. So how many clocks do you think we have in our body, roughly?
5 or 6?
37.
Oh, wow.
So that's the major organs of the body. So if this information is receiving inaccurate information around timing,
Is impacting all of them.
all of them, whether it's the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, the heart, the brain, all of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's why the more accurate the light that we are exposed to
Yeah.
is reflecting the timing outside.
Yeah.
That's when we're going to really protect our light,
Yeah.
dark, awake cycle.
Oh my God, I'm so intrigued. Actually, I didn't know
Yeah.
about the 37 clocks.
Yeah.
And that's so important to know and to pay attention to.
Well, like if we look at daylight saving,
Yeah.
so in over 70 countries, twice a year, there is a social experiment that involves 1.4 billion people. So it's daylight saving.
Yeah.
And when the clock goes back, which it did recently,
Yeah.
on that Saturday night that the clocks went back, there was a fall in strokes and heart attacks by 22%. And also on the Sunday morning, a fall in road traffic accidents because our reaction times were better. Now, when the clocks will go forward, there will be an increase of strokes and heart attacks by up to 24%. And the same in the morning of road traffic accidents. Now, it's
Wow.
not about the hour gained or the hour lost. It's about the disruption to all those 37 biological clocks.
Wow.
The body is able to go back easier, backwards, hence the fall in strokes and heart attacks, rather than going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that also that's the reason why, for example, this is a personal experience, but I've been hearing so many people having this trouble. For example, let's say I'm in Dubai and I'm traveling to US, so I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
Somehow, even though I'm jet lagged, I can manage it somehow.
Yes.
If I'm going forward, so if I'm going to Asia,
Yes.
it's a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And you have that jet lag.
Yeah.
And it is that your brain is here in Dubai and it just hasn't caught up with the timing.
Yeah.
But you know something? We can have jet lag without even leaving the country.
How? I
Because,
think this is me, by the way, so I want to know more because I just came back from Riyadh and we were talking about it before
yeah,
the podcast, and it was only 1 hour like backwards, but like it disrupt my
yeah,
entire
your
sleep.
author, but you can understand now, you've had 37 clocks that have been
Yeah,
forward. Now, lots of things about flying. So when you fly, we know that flying is very dehydrating.
yeah,
And so, excuse me, when we are flying, the body becomes dehydrated. So therefore, jet lag is much harder when we're dehydrated.
yeah,
So one of the tips, if you like, rather than a hack, would be that you really make sure that a few days before you fly, you work on your hydration. So it might be that you, if you are sensitive to the changes in your biological clock, then it might be that you take some salts, some good salts, of course, that haven't got lots of sugar in and so on.
electrolytes, yeah,
Yeah, some good electrolytes that you know to be of a reputable brand. And so you just boost your hydration levels, or even with coconut water, for example. We know that coconut water reaches cellular level and hydrates us more efficiently.
yeah,
So it's what your preference is, but your goal is to make sure you're hydrated.
yeah,
So that will be something that's really important. But how you can get jet lag without even leaving the country is when we alter our clock. So when we go to bed, maybe 2 hours later than the night before. So now we have caused our biological clock to cross 2 time zones because we have thrown the clock off from our bedtime. We've ignored our melatonin coming in, telling our body and our brain it's bedtime. We've completely ignored it.
yeah,
So now our biological clock is totally confused.
of
So without
course.
even leaving the country, we have, and it's called social jet lag.
Oh, wow, I didn't
So it's
know
like,
about it.
teenagers, for example, they really struggle with their sleep because their melatonin comes in much, much later. It's a natural biological shift
Yeah,
in their biological clock. So at the weekend, they will sleep, maybe sleep in for like 2 hours, trying to catch up on the time that they've lost during the week.
yeah,
But come Sunday night, Monday morning, it literally is like they have gone, they've left New York and they've got off in California.
crazy,
So
crazy.
that consistency of timing,
Yeah,
if you can, about going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time
yeah.
is really important.
So, Julie, what are we missing nowadays? What are the elements that we are ignoring, but in time would lead us to have a very poor sleep management and eventually inflammation? Because at the end of the day, sleep is impacting all the organs. And now that you're telling me about the clocks, it even makes more sense.
Yeah. So stress is huge in
Yeah,
our world today. I honestly believe we are living in a much more stressful environment. I also believe we're living in a more disconnected environment. And therefore, we don't have the communities of support
yeah,
that
true.
really bring down that level of stress.
Yeah,
And so this is such an important factor, the role that stress plays, because stress in itself is a inhibitor of sleep. Our mind is racing. Then if we look at the food that we're eating, and we haven't even got the ability like we would be doing in the past of sitting around the table with family and
yeah,
friends on a regular basis and sitting and eating and having regular meal times. Because when we're kind of grabbing food, just, oh, I need to do this because I haven't had enough time to eat, that's now adding to the inflammation. And then we're eating later. And we know, for example, if we're looking at all the research, we do know that the guidelines are, or the recommendations are roughly that we don't eat 2 hours before we go to bed,
yeah,
or 3 hours,
yeah,
depending on what we're eating. And so if we're eating consistently, the body and the gut we're not allowing it to repair, and it needs to.
yeah,
So then that's disrupting all of the really important hormones such as serotonin. Serotonin is a very important building block for melatonin, the sleep
Yeah.
hormone, if we're not getting enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is a very important building block for tryptophan and then melatonin.
Yeah.
So we are living in an
Yeah.
age where it's not supporting sleep.
Yeah, and serotonin, it is mostly made in the gut.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if the gut is not taking any break or is inflamed, it makes sense that also serotonin is not released. And then
Yeah.
eventually also the other component that help
Yeah.
you fall asleep, they're not working. It's so interesting because it seems like everything is so connected.
Completely. There's a neurotransmitter called GABA. It's got a very long name.
Yeah.
But it's called GABA. Now, this neurotransmitter, if we are in, I just think modern day living, this neurotransmitter becomes depleted.
Yeah.
And that there is a natural supplement that you can take called GABA. Now, this is not that you should be taking it. If you're taking it for perhaps 2 weeks or more, then we're fixing. We're not really getting to what the root of the problem is.
Yeah.
But very often, if we take this, it works with calming the brain down, because that's what it does. This neurotransmitter calms the brain down in order for us to feel safe and secure and relaxed enough to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But if this is depleted, then our mind is racing at night.
Yeah.
So it's one factor. So GABA is being depleted. You know, our serotonin is being depleted, and then it has that knock-on effect of not supporting sleep, because of the melatonin then is in direct conflict
Yeah.
of not being able to be produced. So there's a lot.
Yes, yes. And is GABA, can we actually take GABA as a
Yes,
supplement
yes.
in the same way as melatonin? And which are the difference between GABA and melatonin?
Okay, so now we really, there is no comparison with melatonin and
Yeah.
GABA. So melatonin is an endocrine disruptor. And melatonin works on supply and demand. So if we are taking melatonin long term, then the body stops producing its own natural melatonin.
Yeah.
And the melatonin that you take is synthetic. That has there are so many studies that if you're buying melatonin, say it's 5 milligrams from the chemist or that's been prescribed from the pharmacist, there are so many studies that are confirming that there can be as much as 88% more melatonin in that 5 milligram than actually what says on the packet. Now, how much melatonin do you think that we need to initiate sleep? Because that's what melatonin is. It's the key that starts the engine.
Yeah.
So that's what melatonin is. So how much do you think that we as adults require of melatonin to set us up for sleep?
Maybe 2 grams?
No,
How much?
between 0.5 and 1 milligram.
Oh my God, that means that they're prescribing insanely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had a client recently who went to a psychiatrist for
Yeah.
a different, and the psychiatrist prescribed 10 milligrams. Now, fortunately, the pharmacist thought this was not, so they phoned me but yeah.
Oh my God.
So melatonin, now if you can take melatonin that is plant-based, that's better than taking, but you should really only be taking it for short term. Even for traveling, there are other things that are better. Ashwagandha, for example.
Yeah.
Again, ashwagandha really calms the brain down. 5-HTP, looking at your food, the timings of your food.
Yeah.
There's some incredible apps out there for when you are traveling that will tell you when to take your caffeine, when to take your next meal. All of these are much more holistic
Yeah.
and will protect the brain's very fragile biochemistry of all of these systems that we do need to protect.
Wow. Interesting. So we were talking about melatonin and GABA instead as a supplement.
Yes.
What does it do exactly?
So GABA calms the brain down.
Okay.
So if you take that for about an hour before bedtime, but it's not about taking one single aspect. It's about, a whole number of elements that will lead you to better sleep. So light, for example, and it's free.
Yeah.
We know that if you get out in the evening, just Just go out for a walk for 5 minutes. That's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
And in the morning, it's as little as 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So reminding yourself that our sleep tonight started from the minute we woke up this morning.
Wow.
So there's certain things that we can do in the morning that can set us up for a good night's sleep.
For example?
So again, we talked about sleep sleep is very dehydrating.
Yeah.
And of course, light. So when you wake up in the morning, if you can wait and expose your brain and your eyes to 3 minutes of natural sunlight or natural light, that is going to really strengthen that circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
And set you up for the day for your sleep tonight. So most of us, and I don't, honestly, I really don't. The phone is outside my bedroom. That never comes in the bedroom now.
Yeah.
So most of us will wake up and the first thing we do is look at our phone.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at our phone, we are totally disrupting our biological clock.
Yeah.
It's 6:30 a.m. as an example. But if you look at the blue light that's coming off your phone and its content, that is telling your brain, tricking your brain to thinking it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like,
Yeah.
the brain thinks it's 2 o'clock
Also
in
the
the
cortisol,
afternoon.
I guess.
Exactly. So you are getting a huge rush that starts your day with a high level of cortisol.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't want to be looking at the phone yet.
Yeah.
So 3 minutes is all that's needed of just looking at the window, open the window, 3 minutes. The other thing is sleep is very dehydrating.
Yeah.
So if the first thing that you can do is to have some water. Now again, the guidelines are recommendations between 600 and 900 mils of water, which I know is a lot, but do what you can.
Yeah.
It might be 120 mils,
Yeah.
for example. That's a great start.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is a couple of stretches, because when you do these stretches, so there's nothing about a yoga pose particularly or a workout.
Yeah.
But when you do these stretches, your body then memorizes and it prepares it to release the human growth hormone that sets you up for a better night's sleep that night.
Wow.
So those are the three things which are really beneficial to set you up that night. And then come the evening, you will put an alarm on your phone to remind you to start your wind down.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm working with my families, we are really, really clear about that, protecting that bedtime routine.
Yeah.
And, you know, we want them exposed to dim lighting. We want them to have the consistency of having a bath in dim lighting, having their mealtime, and then taking them to,
Yeah.
you know, we forget we need that. Our
Yeah,
brain
true.
needs to be guided.
Yeah. So true. So true. I swear this topic is so fascinating. And I think that there are so many components that people don't know, or just they don't give the right
overwhelming.
value. Yeah, exactly. So I'm so happy that we're having this episode, because for example, what I do in the morning, and you tell me if it's good. So you know that I'm big in gut health. So I wake up in the morning at, first of all, if I'm specifically very dehydrated, I go with coconut water immediately. Or if not, I go with water. But first thing in the morning, I go with water. And then I drink my bone broth.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Now, that's really, really helpful for you to drink your bone broth. But we also know that the bone marrow is where the heavy metals actually collect.
Yeah.
So it's really important to not have bone broth every day.
Yeah.
Because it is about balance. The nutrients from the bone broth are really helpful to you, but it is about,
Yeah.
you know, having that balance. So
Yeah.
yes, that would
Yeah. Yeah.
really
But do you
helpful.
think it's good in the morning? Okay. Okay.
it
Good.
is. It
Good.
is. Certainly looking at all the evidence that we have so far, because it really kickstarts your metabolism and your gut microbiome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Julie, I'm thinking right now, as you told me that you're working with a lot of families and children and moms at this point. And I know that sometimes, I mean, I'm sure among our listeners, there are a lot of moms that has been sleep deprived because of the babies.
Yeah.
So do you have any recommendations for them, or something that you've seen in your clients that can actually help the moms to just, you know, be supported when it comes to sleep?
So I think one of the most important things is, if you can, sleep when your baby's sleeping. You know, in those early months,
Yeah.
you really want to, and a nap is so beneficial.
Yeah.
Because that nap really keeps the cortisol down. And according to NASA, the perfect nap is 26 minutes.
Yeah.
So it keeps the cortisol down and it allows, the body enough to repair and restore. So napping is really important. Also, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Accept accept help. If people are offering to help, then take it.
Yeah.
Because I think we're very hard on ourselves as women, as mothers. We think, no, I can do this. We don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So look at your diet as well. Really do try and eat good food. Try and avoid snacking if you can. Try and avoid, taking food on the go, particularly. And think that whatever you're putting into your body is going to support good gut health, which will in itself support better sleep.
Yeah.
But it's just taking the small baby steps when you can.
Yeah.
It's, when we have our children, it is really overwhelming. And particularly in somewhere like Dubai, we haven't always got our family around us.
Yeah,
We haven't
true.
got that support.
True. And I know that you have 3 wonderful daughters.
Yeah.
Did you move to Dubai before or after you had the daughters?
So our children were born in England.
Yeah.
We then moved to Kuwait. 2 of them moved with us to Kuwait.
Yeah.
One was at university, so they were 12 and 15, which was a very difficult time.
Yeah.
But and so they went to university in the UK, but now all 3 of them live here, which is so special.
Nice. So I guess also you as a mom, you have experience with 3 kids, how sleep was particularly like deprived or sensitive in that time.
So it's really interesting because people think that because, I have 3 daughters, they assume that they were not very good sleepers, and that's how I got into the sleep work. We all have our own stories.
Yeah.
And I can remember before I had children, which is a long time ago now, but before I had children, there were certain friends of mine who the children would stay up too late. The children were really sleep deprived and were miserable and unhappy. And I remember thinking, when I have children, I'm really going to protect their bedtime.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, as a midwife, I'd be on night duty.
Yeah.
And my poor husband couldn't look after 3 children by himself.
Yeah.
I was expected to, as mothers are.
Yeah.
But, so no, their sleep, but it really, and they're still great sleepers now.
Wow.
Really great sleepers
But
now.
it's so wonderful that you kind of like educate them since early age to, give priority to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Actually, I was a terrible, terrible kid when it comes to sleep. I was
You must change that language.
Yeah.
You weren't a terrible sleeper. I think you just didn't learn. Sleep in its purest form is a learnt skill. That in its purest form.
Yeah.
Sleep is like learning to drive a car.
Yeah.
Learning to swim, learn to ride a bicycle. And if you didn't learn it as a baby, as a child.
I didn't, yeah.
I know. And I would say that 90% of adults who come to me, for sleep health and help, they didn't learn as a child. So it's that skill set that they didn't develop.
And it's never too late, I guess,
Never.
to learn.
No, never too late.
Good.
It really isn't.
And which are actually the main misconceptions about sleep that you're hearing normally with your clients and around, also on social media?
So if we talk about children, the main misconception is that they'll eventually figure it out. They will learn. They will not. And that's why if you look at the world, 1/3 of the world is not sleeping.
Yeah.
Because it isn't something, it's complex. And it isn't something that just happens. It's not intuitive anymore.
Yeah.
Now, it used to be, back in the caveman days, the light bulb.
Yeah.
But that's only 140 years ago. We think it's a very long time. It's not.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not intuitive anymore. It is a learnt behavior.
Yeah.
And everything is going against us to learn. If you look at the CEO, when he was the CEO of Netflix, when he took over, he said, my greatest enemy, sleep.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody like Ariana Huffington, who is really, or Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
They are all now truly understanding
Yeah.
the importance of sleep.
Absolutely. And can I touch base something with you, Julie? And I'm sure you agree with me after this conversation, especially. I just want to deliver this message to people and to entrepreneurs, especially, that I think there was a trend where people think, oh, you don't have time to sleep, you just need to hustle. Why are you sleeping? Like, there was kind of like a judgment on people sleeping, on CEO or entrepreneurs sleeping, because there was this like image of the CEO who doesn't sleep, who doesn't
Yeah.
have time to sleep. I am gonna have time to sleep when I'm dying. Like
Yeah.
all this,
Yeah.
like very harsh.
Yeah.
But I do think that now the storytelling needs to be shifted.
Yeah. And I think it's beginning to shift.
Yeah,
I really do. If you look at Federer, one of the greatest tennis players, he was very open about how much sleep he needed.
yeah,
If you look at any of the basketball players, they will also be very open.
yeah,
So now, our athletes are really saying and sharing about the importance of sleep. But, if you think about, there was a lot of talk about the 5 a.m. club.
yeah. What do you
And,
think?
well, what I know is that our rapid eye movement is a really important part of our sleep. And if you're waking up at 5 o'clock, then we're not getting all of our rapid eye movement. You might be getting up at 5 o'clock and you might say, well, I'm only losing 20% of my sleep. Actually, most of us are losing 80% of that rapid eye movement sleep. Now, what that means is we know that in that rapid eye movement phase of our sleep, that is when the testosterone is peaking both for male and female. And testosterone is such an important hormone in terms of fertility, virility, recovery, repair, menopause, for
Yeah,
example, bone health. Testosterone is really important for both male and female.
yeah,
So we're not getting
yeah,
something so fundamental.
yeah. Absolutely.
So it is very important.
So, Julie, what do you think is the best sleep window in terms of time?
So again, it is very much looking our chronotype. So that means whether we are a lark or an owl.
Oh, tell
And
me about it.
so I'm an owl. So my melatonin comes in later in the
Yeah,
evening and leaves later in the morning. So I'm not a morning person.
me neither.
And my husband's melatonin, his comes in early. So he is absolutely a lark. He early to bed and he's great in the morning.
Yeah,
Now with my three daughters, my eldest daughter is just like her father.
yeah.
So she is a lark. My second daughter is like me, so she's an owl. And my third daughter would love to be an owl, but actually she's a lark. So they were like that from babies and they are still the same
Yeah,
now. So when we're looking at timings, we've heard so much about how an hour before bedtime is worth more than 2 to 3 hours after. That isn't an old wives' tale. And that's because when we go to sleep, that supports the synchronicity of our biological clock. So with me being an owl, if I go to bed too early, then I'm not supporting my optimal sleep because it
yeah,
means then I wake up too early if I can. But equally, we know that the deep sleep really happens in the first half of our night.
yeah,
So if we are going to sleep, say 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, then we are missing out on one of the most important, well, not the most important, because the light sleep has a really important factor too. But this is why we are seeing the increase in Alzheimer's, the increase in dementia. Because when we go to sleep at night, there is a very important protein. These toxins are being removed from our brain.
yeah,
And it's only since 2012 that we discovered that the brain has a separate clearing system called the glymphatic system to the rest of our body, which is the lymphatic system. We always thought we just had one,
yeah,
but it was in 2012 that we discovered actually no. Now, and that means that it's almost like a dishwasher effect. So if we go to bed at the right time for us, depending on, if we go to bed, then when you put the dishwasher on, all the debris and the dirt from the plates, when the cycle is finished, it's all
yeah.
gleaming and all the debris has been
Clean, yeah.
removed. That's what happens to our brain and our
Crazy.
body every night. if we don't support that, we wake up in the morning and there is still all those
Toxins.
toxins,
Yeah.
which are beta amyloid and tau. They build like
Wow.
plaque does on our teeth. The plaque builds, the toxin builds on our brain, hence the Alzheimer's and dementia.
Oh my
So it
God.
is really important for
Yeah.
all of us.
So, what's like, for example, as an all, when you're saying that you should, let's say, go to bed a little bit later and I assume wake up a little bit later,
Yeah.
what time are we talking about?
So usually it's somewhere between 10 and 11 and
Yeah.
a 30-minute flexibility. Flexibility is really important.
Yeah.
But the other thing is recognizing whether you are a 7 or a 9-hour sleeper.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm a 7-hour sleeper. My husband's a 9, possibly 15. My daughter is a 9.
Yeah.
My second daughter is a 7, like me. And my youngest daughter, again, would love to be a 7, but she's actually a 9. And when she goes against her biological clock, then she opens herself up to infection and
Yeah.
her gut microbiome
Yeah.
is not operating at its optimal.
Yeah.
So it really has direct consequences on all of our health.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely like a night, like a no for sure. And I really do believe that for me, 9 hours are the best because when I'm 7,
Yes.
I feel like I wake up, but still there's something, when you wake up and you have this
Yeah.
feeling, I still need this 1%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's about not overcomplicating it. But if you wake up in the morning before your alarm, if you wake up and you're ready to go, then you have reached your unique sleep need.
Yeah.
And we all vary. I mean, it's like, for example, which I found really fascinating. When babies are born, they are born with a 25-hour clock.
Yeah.
And, in a short period of time, they come round onto that 24-hour. But all of us have a different biological clock. We all operate on like 24 hours plus a little bit. Now, we all have a little bit. So that's why we all have a different biological clock. And it's working with our bodies and our brains that's going to give us the answer. So be curious around what works for you, because what will work with you will not work with me particularly.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's so true. For example, when my clients are coming to me, of course, normally they come to me because they have digestive problem. But of course, as a holistic health coach, I need to coach them on different levels. And there are people that sometimes come to me and they feel frustrated because they cannot get up like at 5 in the morning. And I always say, it's fine. As long as if you're taking enough sleep, of course, you don't need to wake up at 11 every day. I'm not saying this because even this is pushing the line too much. But again, there are people that have night shifts. There are people that maybe they're olds compared to, early birds. So I feel that like they don't need to stick to, okay, it's 5 a.m. club, and if I'm waking up at 7, I'm not good enough. My sleep is not good enough.
But even if you look at the difference between male and female,
Exactly.
men have a daily cycle, women have a monthly cycle.
Yes.
And so, if we're in the luteal phase rather, or our sleep need and our biological clock is running on a very different timing.
Yeah. And sometimes, Julie, I swear, like when I'm on my period as a girl, I need also 11 hours.
Yes. And your body does.
Yeah.
Your body really, throughout your monthly cycle, you will need different sleep.
Yeah.
And even when you exercise, because there'll be times within that monthly period that if you go really hard at the gym, then that is again going to go against the natural rhythm of your body.
Absolutely.
It's about certain times within that monthly cycle. It's much better that you're doing yoga, for example, and it's not that you're giving yourself a really hard time. It's like, no, I need to do this. You need to listen to your body. We need to come back and really look to see what our body is telling us, what we need, because it will.
Yeah. So, Julie, when it comes to sleep, how much bio-individuality is important from 0 to 10?
Oh, huge bio. Now, like I said, we are 7 to 9 hour sleepers.
Yeah.
And it's not, you'll hear a lot about an 8-hour, but as an adult, our sleep cycle is approximately 90 minutes. So that's why the maths just don't add up. We can't be 8 hours.
Yeah.
But really, it's just that when we go to bed, we're not going to fall asleep straight away. Because if you are falling asleep straight away, that's a red flag that perhaps you are sleep deprived. Because
Okay.
we should be taking some time, like
To slow down.
approximately 10 to 15 minutes to fall asleep, to get into that first sleep
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
So we're setting ourselves up for good restorative sleep.
Yeah.
So that's why, now again, talking about our biological clock, if we are going to bed and it's taking us 30 to 45 minutes to fall asleep, on the front of it, we might think we have insomnia, but actually we are just out of sync with our biological rhythm. Because if we are an owl and we're trying to get to bed early because we know we've got to get
Yeah.
up early, so let's see what we can do. Maybe you can delay the bedtime by 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe we expose ourselves to different lighting in our meals. So there's a number of things that we can do to work with our body.
Yeah.
But usually we're 7 to 9 hour sleepers.
Yeah.
And we've got to be looking at what works for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Julie, I have a lot of friends, for example, that they wake up in the night because maybe they have dreams, bad dreams normally, or because they need to go to the toilet, or for unreasonable reasons. What's the meaning behind?
So behind every behavior is a communication.
Yeah,
And so bad dreams, for example, very often it could well be that they're overstimulated before bed.
yeah,
And the dreaming is emotional processing. So the dreaming is us acting out what has happened through our day. So the dreaming is a really, really important part that enables us to make sense of all the different things that has happened throughout our day.
wow,
So like I said, it could well be overstimulating day. So it might be that you might need a longer wind down period.
yeah,
So you come off your phone, doom scrolling is playing really, really has a terrible impact on our sleep. Going to the bathroom too late at night, we've got to look. So coffee, for example, is a diuretic.
yeah,
So maybe we're having coffee too late in the day. Maybe we're having too much fluid too late in the day. So it's about you being curious about what it could be, because there's lots of signs that say, okay, this is what it could be. So let's work and discover,
yeah,
is it this? Now, every single human being, because our sleep cycle is 1.5 hours, we all wake up, we all have a mini wake up.
yeah,
And that goes back right to the evolutionary days, going back to us, our caveman days. That mini wake up was to make sure that there was no saber-toothed tiger. Because remember, when we sleep for long periods of time, we are very vulnerable to any
yeah,
kind of prey. Now, yes, the prey no longer exists, but all the other things do.
yeah,
Technology is our prey, all these different things. So that mini wake up is completely normal. So nobody ever sleeps through the night. We just don't remember. If we get up to go to the bathroom, we go to the bathroom and then we fall back asleep immediately. That's not a problem at all. It's only a problem when we can't go back to sleep and are awake for long periods of time. That's what the issue is. But again, it's looking to see what can we do to impact these changes.
For example, I had a friend who recently broke up with a boyfriend, and she was like, I keep on dreaming about him, and I remember I said, I think it's your mind that is trying to process this, this trauma that you're having.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So things like that you can do here is journaling. Honestly, journaling and mindfulness has been proven to be so beneficial to calming the brain down. And like, for example, it's called brain dumping.
yeah,
Now, a lot of the times when I've had a client and they've said, I've tried it, Julie, and it doesn't work. The problem that here was that they were doing the brain dumping too close to bedtime. So it might be that it would be done a couple of hours just to put down all of these thoughts on paper. And very often, if you scrunch it up and you throw it in the bin, it's like, that's it, it's done. We're actually taking all of these thoughts out of our brain. So we're making
space, yeah,
for a more restful night. And then, white noise, the sound of the ocean,
yeah,
that can really help. But finding your sound that's going to calm your
yeah,
brain down, listening to a mindfulness story,
yeah,
all of these things are going to really calm your brain down.
yeah,
So it's not that you want to stop with this dreaming, you've got to see, how can I facilitate my dreaming that is not going to cause me to wake up.
Yeah. So, Julie, I have a last question for you. For example, for our listeners, so let's say that maybe among them there's a couple that they're thinking, oh, I have insomnia, or I struggle with sleep. So, what are the main suggestions and recommendations that you would give them, for example, if they need like a quick recommendation to start fixing their sleep, maybe this evening, why not?
Yeah. So the easiest, and it's free, is light. Expose yourself to natural light. Now, like I had a client, for example, who was going to be on a call with Canada for 11 hours. And she said, Julie, there's no way I can do that. You can. I said, I want you, because you'll be stopping to go to the bathroom, you'll be stopping to have a cup of tea for a break. I want you to go open the window, because she was in an apartment, open the window and just look at the light. That is going to strengthen your circadian rhythm. If you can get outside, for example, in the evening, that light, late afternoon and evening, is going to strengthen your circadian rhythm, which is going to set you up. Look at your food. Are you eating too close to bedtime? Because when you eat too close to bedtime, and depending on what you're eating, it ramps up your core body temperature. And your environment, it needs to be cool. A cool environment is going to confirm with the brain that sleep is coming soon, and it's going to support better sleep.
Yeah.
Phones, get off your phones.
Yeah.
Keep them out. Have some rules around your phone.
Yeah.
It might be, I will not look at my phone unless I'm standing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Create the rules that are going, and they do have to be rules.
Yeah.
Because
you
it's
need
not
to
about
maintain
trying.
them.
Yeah, it's not that you're trying. And then there are some supplements. Looking at different teas, for example, passion fruit tea is very good at supporting sleep. The studies are there. Chamomile, but even magnesium glycinate is really good for supporting sleep. Magnesium is responsible for over 300 chemical reactions within the body.
Yeah. I agree, because I am on magnesium, and mostly because I'm training, but also because I'm struggling with my sleep, and since then I'm saying that I saw results.
And if, for example, you don't feel that you can take the magnesium as a capsule, you don't want to, you could even do a foot bath with magnesium.
Oh.
Because, and I mean, the best would be to take a bath. It's better than taking a capsule, because by you having a bath, now remember this, the skin is the second largest organ in the body.
Yeah.
And so when you immerse yourself in some magnesium flakes, natural magnesium flakes, this is 5 times more effective than taking one capsule.
Wow. Yeah. So bath with salt, magnesium, I think this is one of the coziest solution even for us girlies. After your, if you have a bath in your, if you have a bath in your bathroom, you just cool down
with dim lighting.
Dim lighting, and then maybe like a cute candle, and just like a mindful book.
An aroma.
Yeah.
A candle that has a nice scent.
Yeah.
Because scent is very powerful. It helps us. It captures memories.
Yeah.
And there'll be certain smells that make you think back of being a child, and I'm safe.
Yes, absolutely. And for example, for like heavy travelers like me that are struggling with jet lag, also I would love to hear some recommendations from you, Julie.
There are honestly some really, really helpful apps.
Yeah.
That are...
Can you name them for us?
They've just gone from my mind the second.
Okay, but we put it in the link in bio later.
Really help, because, and they will tell you, because they've been created, one of them, whose name escapes me now, has been created by NASA. So the science in them is so helpful. And they are, when to have your caffeine, when to have your food, when to have some water, when not to, when to wake up in the morning. Really, really helpful. So that is going to be one of the most important things. Being hydrated, keep yourself hydrated 2 or 3 days before you go. When you arrive in the country, depending on when you arrive, there's lots of studies that showing us when you arrive, if you have a good meal, your breakfast in the country that you are arriving in, and it is breakfast time, even if you don't feel like it, that is going to be so powerful in setting your biological clock.
Interesting.
about not eating on the plane. So, for example, on the plane, on average, if you're flying 6 hours, do you know how many calories we consume on average during that 6 hours?
I don't know because I usually don't eat on planes.
Wonderful, wonderful. But for people who do, we know that on average, you're consuming
That's a
3,100
lot.
calories. So now this is totally disrupting our biological.
100%.
Yeah. So it's just about being mindful,
Yeah.
getting outside. Natural light, that is going to be your best friend.
Yeah.
And movement. You know, get as soon as you get onto the plane, don't even wait till you arrive in your destination, but change your clock
Yeah.
as soon as you arrive onto the plane.
Yeah.
Because that in itself is going to help shift your
Yeah.
biological clock.
Interesting. Julie, I have a feeling that it's gonna happen like an episode 2 because I'm intrigued about your knowledge about sleep, but also about this wonderful machine, which is not only our body but the circadian rhythm. And I'm
Yes.
so happy that you came into the podcast because I feel there's so much to say about it. I think it's a very relatable topic for everyone. And thank you so much for being with us and to share your knowledge. And I'm sure it's gonna be. I just want to forecast this with you guys. I'm sure there's gonna be an episode 2.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome. I've really enjoyed the questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
you
Julie.
too.
And guys, I hope you really liked the podcast and the episode. Please hit the thumbs up if you really like it. And if you want Julie to be on board again. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.